Yes.
Right. We may make an error with demai, with first tithe, whose truma has been taken, and with second tithe or consecrated produce that were redeemed, and kohanim with challah or with truma, but not with untied produce, nor with first tithe, whose truma has not been taken, nor with second tithe, nor consecrated produce that were not redeemed. If one senses error with a deaf mute, a mentally deranged person, or a minor, or someone who does not accept error, the error is not valid. But if he instructed another to receive it from him, the error is valid. If you place it on a tree higher than 10 tefachim, his erev is not valid. Below 10 tefachim, his erev is valid. If you place it in a ditch even 100 cubits deep, his erev is valid. If you put it atop a reed or atop a pole, so long as it is uprooted and is struck into the ground, even if it's 100 cubits high, his erev is valid. If you place it in a locker and lost the key, the erev is valid. Reb Eliezer says if he does not know that the key is in its place, the erev is not valid. If it rolled beyond the techum, or he fell on it, or burned it, or it was truma which became contaminated, if it was still day, the erev is valid. If after dark, the erev is valid. But if I'm sorry, if it's day, the erev is invalid, and after dark, the erev is valid. If it is in doubt, Reb Meir and Reb Yehuda say he is caught in between Reb Yossi and Reb Shimon. Say a doubtful erev is valid. Says Reb Yossi, Avtulos attested in the name of the five sages that a doubtful erev is valid. Okay.
Okay. Masne Adam al Erevo, a person can make a Tanai condition on his Erev. So we're talking about the Erev Techumin that allows you to travel, from to a different city.
Right.
Okay. Uh, Im bau goyim min hamizrach erev lamarav. So he's concerned. There's a band of marauding goyim coming in the area. And if he gets word that they're coming from the east, then his Erev is in the west. And he's actually put the food there, obviously. He's put the food in both places. But what he does is he makes that tonight that if the danger comes from the east, then his Erev is in the west. And if the danger comes from the west, then the Erev is in the east. And if they come from both sides, then I will go wherever is good for me. Lo mikan v'lo mikan. If they don't come at all, hareini kibnei iri, and then I am just like the rest of the residents of my town. In other words, no erev.
Right.
Im ba chacham. So similarly, a person can also do for a positive reason. Im ba chacham min hamizrach. He gets word from somebody that the Talmid Chacham has come from the east. Erevi lemizrach. In Amarav, Erevi lemarav. And I'm going to go to the west with that for him. If we have two great Talmid Chachamim, one comes from the east and one comes from the west, then I'll go to the one that I choose, and we'll determine then where my Erev is. Lo lekan v'lo lekan hareini kivnei iri. But if not, neither of them come, then I'm just like any other resident of my city. Okay. Rabbi Yehuda Omer, im haya echad behen rabo holech etzel rabo. Rabbi Yehuda says he doesn't have a choice in the matter if one of them is his Rav. Then he's bound to make the Erev from that side. But im hayu shneihem rabosav lemakom sheyiratei elech. But if they're both his teachers, then he does have that choice. Okay. Rabbi Eliezer Omer, Yom Tov HaSamach LeShabbos. Now we're talking about Erev Tavshilin. Okay. So Erev Tavshilin, if you wait, oh no, we're not beg your pardon. No, we're still talking about Erev Techumin. Sorry, got confused there. We're talking about Erev Techumin, where you're deciding which
Right.
you're going to be part of. But now it's a situation where Yom Tov falls on on Erev Shabbos. Okay, so now does that Erev necessarily have to last for both days? And what's the situation? Rabbi Eliezer says Yom Tov HaSamach Shabbos, Bein Milefaneha Bein Mila Achareha, whether it's on Friday or whether it's on Sunday. What can you do? Ma'arev Adam Shnei Eruvin. You can make two separate Eruvin, and that's fine. Omer Eruvi Harishon Lamizrach VeHasheni Lamarav. So my first Eruv is for is for whatever the first day is, whether it's Shabbos or Yom Tov, and the second day and the second Erev is for the second day. Okay. Um, and that way he can plan ahead where he wants to travel and go for lunches and whatever for Yom Tov and Shabbos. Okay. Harishon lemarav Hashen lemizrach, whichever and specify which one is for which. Erevi Harishon Vasheni Erevi Harishon. It says you can also say my Erev is only for the first day, and the second day I'm just like a regular dweller of my town, citizen. Erevi Hasheni Varishon Kivnei Iri, or the other way. He can be a regular resident of his town for the first day, and the Erev is applicable for the second day. Chachamim disagree with Rabbi Eliezer, and they say no. Ma'arev leruach achas or eino ma'arev kol ikar. He must make one single erev or none at all. Or ma'arev l'shnei yamim, and he makes the erev only for 2 days, or eino ma'arev kol ikar. Um, why are the Chachamim not happy about the idea of making two separate erevin? Um, because just reading the commentary about to explain why the Chachamim disagree with Rabbi Eliezer. What the reason of the Chachamim, there it is. Because it's a safek to them if the 2 days of Yom if there are 2 days the Yom Tov and Shabbos together are one kedusha, and
Right.
and they say maybe it's like one long kedusha that comes in, or maybe it's two different kedushas, and therefore they're machmir on it that you cannot take two separate Eruvin on the Yom Tov and the Shabbos, because maybe it's considered one long kedusha. So, Ketzad Yaseh, so back to how to deal with according to um, with Rabbi Eliezer's situation. Ketzad Yaseh, how does he handle it? Oh no, the Chachamim. This is Chachamim saying, how should he act? Molicha barishon umachshich alav. So he takes his Erev food on the first day. Let's say this is Yom Tov before Shabbos. He takes his food onto on the first day, and he waits there as Yom Tov comes in, and therefore he makes his Erev over there. But not lo balo, and he takes his food and carries it back to his house. Now he's allowed to do that because it's Yom Tov.
Right.
Okay, not lo balo. B'sheni machshich alav v'ochlo, and the second day he takes his food back over there, and therefore he can stay in. He doesn't have to worry about his erev being lost between the 2 days. Nimtza mistake ba'alichaso mistake ba'erevo, so he gets the benefit of his walking and of his erev. What happens if he left the food there? Nechal barishon. So he put his food in the Erev spot on the first day. Erev l'rishon ve'eno Erev l'sheni. It's good for the first day, but he can no longer rely on it for the second day. Okay, so Rabbi Eliezer says, "Excuse me, what are you telling me? You're telling me that now this is two different kedushas." Amar lehem Rabbi Eliezer, "Modim atem li she'ein shtei kedushas." You've just conceded to me that Yom Tov and Shabbos are two different kedushas, and therefore, because if there were one kedusha, then the one erev, once it was extant from the beginning of the Yom Tov, should carry on for both of the 2 days. And it's not, he doesn't really chap the Chachamim's rule, because the Chachamim are just here because of the Safek. They're not saying it's Vadai, two separate Kedushas. They're saying we're not sure. And therefore, we mafmir. But in the event that something happens like this, then we'll go on the side of the Safek that it's two separate Kedushas and the person's not messed up, that he can't go this way and can't go that way. That's called the Chamar Gamal, where you're not sure where your Erev is, and therefore you have to follow the Chumras of both Erev. Okay. Nonetheless, the halacha in this case is like Rabbi Eliezer, that there are two separate kedushas of Yom Tov and Shabbos, and a person could make two separate erevin. This is not so, however, with Rosh Hashanah, as we'll see in the next Mishnah. Rabbi Yehuda is the one now who stands alone, and he says Rosh Hashanah shehaya yareh shema tisaber. if he's concerned about Rosh Hashanah, that it's going to be 2 days. This is in, by the way, this is before we had a fixed calendar that you had
Uh-huh.
that they were going LP Adam when
Right.
Rosh Hashanah was going to be declared. And he's worried that you're going to have 2 days of Rosh Hashanah, which we have all the time now. Okay,
Mhm.
Ma'ariv Adam Shnei Eruvin Vo'amer Eruvi Barishon Lemizrach V'Sheni Lamarav. You can make two separate Eruvin, one for the first day, one for the second day, in two different places. Barishon Lamarav, Barishon V'Sheni Lemizrach. Eruvi Barishon V'Sheni Kivnei Iri, Eruv B'Sheni V'Barishon Kivnei Iri. All these different combinations, says Rabbi Yehuda, that you can make two different Eruvin for 2 days of Rosh Hashanah. V'lo hodelu chachamim. Chachamim said no. Rosh Hashanah is a different story. Rosh Hashanah is one long kedusha because it's one day. That's kind of granted that it's we keep 2 days of Rosh Hashanah because of the history of you of the suffix of which day is
Right.
going to be Rosh Hashanah. Um, but now that's considered one day. That and it's one long kedusha. If you make your eruv in one place, and even Rabbi Eliezer is on their side on this one. So only Rabbi Yehuda is standing alone and saying that you could make two separate eruvin, and that's not the halacha. All right.
This is because of the Adam that came that we have the 2 days.
Uh,
Right. That was the
well,
reason.
because you don't have because you don't have time to send out messengers to all of the provinces. I mean, not just I mean, normal Yom Tov Sheni Shel Galios is because you don't have the time to get everyone out to Babel and let them know in time for Sukkot and for Pesach and whatever to let them know that this is the time. But Rosh Hashanah is Bo Bayom. Everyone comes in on the 29th of Elul, comes
Right.
at night, and we don't know whether that night itself is going to be Yom Tov. So everyone is keeping Yom Tov B'Safek on the night of what could either be the 30th of Elul or the first of Tishrei.
But now we know we have a fixed
And then
calendar.
only the next day, the Eidim will come if they come.
Right. But now we have a fixed calendar. So why don't they change it?
Ah,
We have a fixed calendar.
no,
We know
because
when it
no, no. Okay, so now we have the fixed calendar, but we keep the minhag
right,
of times. Yeah.
right. At least that didn't happen for Yom Kippur. So
Yeah, yeah, that's right. And I mean, if you think about it, really, it should have done because even more so than if for Sukkot you're keeping 2 days of Yom Tov, maybe for Yom Kippur you should be keeping 2 days.
right.
But because it involves a 24-hour fast, you're not going to
Yeah.
make people fast for 48 hours.
Hope not. I always like reading about those fasts. They fasted for 3 days when they didn't have rain, and they fasted for 2 days. They never always got that in there.
Yeah.
Okay, we have Shabbos and we have cuff dollar base.
Hmm.
We may untie bundles of straw before an animal, and we may scatter tender cedar boughs, but not triply bound bundles of straw. We may not shred neither fodder nor carobs before an animal, whether it is up lightweight or heavyweight. Rabbi Yehuda permits crushing for carobs for a lightweight animal. We may neither stuff a camel or cram it, but we may put food into its mouth. We may not fatten calves, but we may put food into their mouths. We may put food into the mouths of fowls, and we may put water into the bran, but we may not knead it. We may not place water in before bees or before doves that are in a dovecote, but we may place water before geese and chickens and before Herodian doves. We may cut up gourds before cattle or a carcass before dogs. Rabbi Yehuda says if it was not yet a carcass prior to Sabbath, it is prohibited since it is not something that was prepared. And we may annul vows on Shabbos, and we may not, and we may seek release from vows for things that are necessary for the Sabbath. We may stop up a window, and we may measure a patch or a mikvah. An incident occurred in the days of Tzadok's father and the days of Abishur ben Batnis, that they stopped up the window with an earthenware jug and tied a cup with a rush to ascertain whether a vat had an aperture of a handbreadth or not. And from the words, we learn that they may stop up, measure, and tie on Shabbos. Okay, Abdullah. Uh, well, we're going to stay. We're finished with this section now. With
Um,
this, besides 2 volumes. So
hold on a second. Wait. You went. Oh, you did the last three of Shabbos. I'm sorry. I was totally distracted. And,
okay, sorry.
and we actually should have been doing the previous three Mishnayos.
Okay, so that's Kesvav, base.
Base. It should have been base, yeah.
Okay. One who takes out rope enough to make a handle for a basket, reed grass enough to make a hanger for a sifter or a sieve. Rabbi Yehuda says enough to take the measure of a child's shoe, paper enough to write on a tax collector's receipt. And one who takes out a tax collector's receipt is liable, erased paper enough to wrap around the mouth of a small bottle of perfume. Hide enough to make an amulet, parchment enough to write the smallest section of the tefillin, namely Shema Israel, ink enough to write two letters, stibum, enough to paint one eye, paste enough to put at the end of a birdcatcher's board, pitch and sulfur enough to make a small hole therein, wax enough to put on the opening of a small hole, crushed brick enough to make the opening of a gold refiner's crucible, Rabbi Yehuda says enough to repair a prop of a tripod, and cross brand enough to put the opening of a gold refiner's crucible. Quicklime enough to smear a girl's smallest limb, and Rabbi Yehuda says enough to flatten out the hair of the temples. Rabbi Kedema says enough for a forehead plaster. Okay, let me see. Okay, so we're just going to continue with where I am now. We're finished with the other volume.
Which you basically without it, right? So you just finished the password. Yes, okay. Fine. So that's up to hey. Okay. Um, right. So I mean, tomorrow we're gonna we okay, we
Oh,
so
Dalit,
back
I've
to
Gimel, Kaf Gimel. Hey, you mean?
no Chaf Daled hey. You finish
Right, okay, Gimel. Okay, right. That's the
okay.
last one. Last one. Okay, okay. Trumos.
Your design.
Okay. Um, if one pickled olives of Kulin and with Truma olives, whether crushed ones of Kulin or crushed ones of Truma, or crushed ones of Kulin with whole ones of Truma, or in Truma water, they are forbidden. But one whole ones of Kulin with crushed ones of Truma are permitted. If one pickled an unclean fish with a clean fish, if an unearthen vessel holding two sods, the unclean fish weighs 10 zuz in Judean measure, which is 5 cells in Galilean measure. Its brine is forbidden, and Rabbi Yehuda says a quarter and 2 sods, but Rabbi Yossi says 1/16 of it. And if an unclean locust were pickled with clean locust, the brine is not rendered unclean, and Reb Zadok was testified that the brine of unclean locust is clean. Okay. And hey. Flowing water is like a spring, and trickling water is like a mikveh. Reb Tzadok testified that when the flowing water is more than the trickling water, it's valid. And if trickling water was made to flow, it may be blocked even with a stick or even with a cane, and even by a zav or a zava, and then one may go down and immerse oneself. These are the words of Rabbi Huda, and Rabbi Yossi said one may not stop a flow with anything that is susceptible to tuma. If a wave that became separated consisted of 40 saw and it fell on a person or on utensils, they become tahor. In any place that contains 40 saw, one can immerse himself and one can immerse things. Hence, one may immerse things in pits or in ditches or on a donkey track or is mingled in the countryside. The Shabbos says one may immerse things in a river that flows down a mountain. Beis Hillel says one may not immerse anything therein. They agree, however, that one may make an enclosure with utensils and immerse himself therein, but the utensils themselves used to make the enclosure are not deemed as immersed. Any water that mingles with a mikveh is like a mikveh. In the case of holes in a cave or cracks in a cave, one may immerse something in them, however they are. But in the case of a dugout under a cave, one may not immerse anything in it unless there is an opening the size of a water skin tube. Yehuda said, when is this so? When it supports itself. But if it does not support itself, one may immerse something in it, however it is. And Kulin. Okay. Gimel Zion. And among locusts, anyone that has 4 legs, 4 wings, jointed legs, and its wings cover the great part of his body, Rabbi Yossi says, and its name must be Chagav. And among fish, whatever has a fin and scale, Rabbi Yehuda says 2 scales and a fin. These are the scales that are fastened to it, and fins with those with which it glides. And if an animal is in difficult labor and the fetus puts forth its foreleg and drew it back, it is permissible for eating. If it put it forth its head, although it drew it back, it is regarded as having been born. If one cuts off part of the fetus that is in her womb, it is permissible for eating from the spleen or from the kidneys, it is prohibited to be eaten. This is a general rule. Whatever is part of its body is prohibited. What is not part of the body is permissible. If an animal is in difficult labor with its first young, and one may cut off each limb and throw it to the dogs, its greater part comes out, it must be buried, and she is exempted from the law of the firstborn.
Yeah. And Nazir.
Love you. Okay, test bot base. A Nazir who shaved and then it became known to him that it was Tameh. If it was due to a known tumor, it forfeits. If it was due to a tumor of the depths, it does not forfeit. If it is not yet shaved when it became known to him, then regardless of which tumor it was, he forfeits. How so? If he descended into a cave to immerse himself, and a corpse was found floating out of the mouth of the cave, he is Tameh. If it was found sunken on the floor of the cave, if he had gone down to cool himself, he is Tahor. To pure himself from tumor of the dead, he is Tameh because someone is presumed to remain tummy, while someone tahor is presumed to remain tahor, for the manner is indicated. Someone who finds a corpse for the first time lying in its usual manner may remove it along with the surrounding earth. If he found two corpses, he may remove them along with the surrounding earth. If he found three corpses, if the distance between the one and that one is 4 to 8 cubits, it is a graveyard zone. And he must search from there outward a distance of 20 cubits. If he found one at the end of 20 cubits, he searches from there outward a distance of 20 cubits. For that matter is indicated, although he has found it at first, he would have removed it together with the surrounding earth. Yeah. Any doubt concerning afflictions of Taras at the outset of Tahor, as long as it has not been confirmed to be Tameh. Once it has been confirmed to be Tameh, a doubt is ruled to be Tameh. A Zav is checked in 7 ways as long as he has not been confirmed to be Tameh from a Ziva, concerning food, drink, and carrying a load, jumping, illness, sight, and thought. Once he has been confirmed to be Tameh from Ziva, we do not examine him. His mishap or doubts because of the summon of the Sarge are Tameh since the matter is indicated. If someone struck his fellow and they assessed that he would die, but his condition improved from what it had been, after that it was worse and then he died, the attacker is liable. And the Nehemiah says he is exempt for the matter is indicated.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right, we're going to finish this tomorrow and move on to Sota.
I'm sorry, Sota? Okay.
Sota, yeah.
Okay, great.
All right. Have a
Perfect.
wonderful
Have a great day. Thank you. Thank
day.
you.